couple of years ago now, I reviewed this Max Tech Boombox from Aldi. It was something I just picked up while I was in the shop getting my groceries, and I spotted this and I thought, well, that'd be interesting. Cost about £30. And, with Aldi, or you might not do, they have sort of promotional things that come in on a rolling basis. So this was out in 2017. They also had it out again in 2018 with a different label on it, slightly different graphics. A few people asked if I'd review it again. Well, it was exactly the same thing, just with a few different stickers. However, this year I was in getting my shopping again, and I saw this one, Boombox. This is, it's got the name Reka on it, R-E-K-A. It means nothing, of course. It's just a thing that's been put together for Aldi and no doubt numerous other retailers. Whoever wants one of these can go ahead and get one, because they'll just ask the factory in China to stick whatever logo they want on this. But I thought, worth picking this one up. Not because it's going to be brilliant, but because it's different to the other one. A little bit bigger, I think. It looks it in the box. Anyway, we'll get it out in a minute. Just one thing I want to mention about these things, though. People do get a little bit excited sometimes whenever there's a new cassette player out. There's one being promoted on various gadget blogs and things at the moment. It's a personal stereo with Bluetooth added to it. It's just a company who's just got on the phone or emailed someplace in China, says, oh, can you put together the following components? We want a Bluetooth adapter attached to the personal stereo mechanism and put in a case that looks like this, and someone will draw that out. And that's what will turn up. But they haven't really done much. They're not really a new company bringing out a new product. They're just assembling things that already exist. Now, as far as boomboxes like this, and like this goes, as far as the cassette part of it goes, they're using one cassette mechanism for all of them. Whether you're getting a product from Toshiba or whoever, TIAC, Tascam, same place, but they use one mechanism. And that mechanism is one of these. This is the Tanashin, or Tanashin, I'm not too sure which way you'd emphasise that word, but it's the Tanashin TN21. And this is pretty much the last cassette mechanism standing. Which is a bit of a shame, really, because it's a budget mechanism. This one, according to Tanashin, they started manufacturing in 1986, and they're still making it today. So it's the TN21 or the TN21Z, I believe, if you have it in the dual cassette setup. But even this isn't all Tanashin. The motor on here comes from Sanko. So, these are modular as well, but the overall mechanism is a Tanashin, and quite easy to recognise once you've spotted a few of these before. You kind of know how it's laid out. You have these, I don't know if you can see that, there's three little cogs in the middle there, and especially that spring, I don't know if you can see, that's going to really take some focusing. That spring that goes there, that is something that you can always spot sort of through the window of a cassette mechanism. If you just open the door, you see that little spring sticking out. So yeah, this will be in that, as well as in that, as well as in pretty much anything you buy. Because what happened is, with it being the last one left standing, the reason for that is, well, it started off as a budget mechanism. In fact, if I can reach over here and knock a few things on the floor. The triple cassette deck, which I'm going to be working on repairing again soon, that uses a Tanashin mechanism, or it might be a Panasonic National mechanism that Tanashin then ended up making themselves. It's all a little bit complicated, but somewhere in the 1980s, things went from being devices like the mechanism that you might remember from this codec. I'll just show a few pictures of that on the screen now. That was a very complex cassette mechanism from 1980. A lot going on in there, belts all over the place, cogs and wheels and all the rest of it. And this company says, well, we can make a cheaper mechanism than that. And that's what they did. And then all the companies that wanted a cheap boombox used the Tanashin mechanism, and they sold millions of these. And over the years, the more expensive stuff fell off because there wasn't the demand for it. But the cheap boomboxes are the ones that remained. And then bit by bit, all the other companies closed down that made anything more significant than this. And this is it now. I think there's a slightly different one for the personal stereos, because that would make a pretty chunky personal stereo. Maybe they stick a different motor on it, or maybe it's not a Tanashin mechanism. There might be two or three out there, different things that are very similar to this. But yeah, it's low end. I think I better show that in a bit better detail. In focus would definitely be a good start. So this is the cog layout that I was referring to, which is quite distinctive to this mechanism. If you press play here, you can see how this one gets pushed down. That's the pause control there, so you can see how it gets pushed against those two. And then also rewind and fast forward how the other one moves between the two positions there. But these things are modular. They don't always look exactly like this. You can spec it up and have different parts on here. The overall mechanism is the same, but there are certain parts that can be swapped out. For example, these parts at the top, the button pushers, we can see on here, they've been spec'd to be at a right angle. This one, they're all flat, so it no doubt fits better in whatever button layout they had on this mechanism. But also, look at the back here. They've put the motor in different positions. The rest of it's the same, but you can just swap where you want the motor, so that would no doubt be to fit in a certain sized case or layout. And also, most importantly on this, that one has got a stereo head on there. This one has a mono head, and this one is obviously the cheaper of the two, because not just the mono head, but the erase mechanism at the top right here. You see on this one, if you were to press play, the erase head always comes down and touches the tape. And it can do that because it's an electromagnet. They'd put a voltage through there when they want it to erase the tape. The tape goes this way, so it erases the tape, records on the tape. This one, they keep the head out of the way, so that when you press play, it's not coming down, but when you press record, it does pop down, and that is because that is a permanent magnet. If I get a paper clip here, you can see that that is always, oops, well, there we go, that is always magnetized, whether it's in the up or down position. So that is the cheapest way you can erase a tape, and it's not really recommended. It produces noisy recordings. It's just as cheap as you can go. So we've got a mono head and a permanent magnet on here. One thing I will say about these mechanisms that I think is particularly clever is to do with the record mechanism, because it's the simplest system in the world. We've got this little plastic clip up here. It looks like it's doing nothing. It doesn't seem to be attached to anything at all. But what it's doing is holding the piece of metal there, so that when you try and record, it won't do, because imagine this is in the notch that you've pulled out of the top of a cassette. However, if you've got a cassette with that notch intact, it just moves ever so slightly upwards like that, and then that means you can press the record because that piece of metal slides under that piece of plastic there. Very clever how they've simplified the mechanism down, but these are definitely low-end mechanisms. They are, however, the only mechanisms you can get. So whatever machine you're buying, however much you spend on it, you're going to get a variation of this inside it. Now let's have a look at the machine. Now I missed this promotion in the store. I'm assuming they're having a bit of an 80s week or something, which is why this was in there. I think previously it's been in on Father's Day or something, but that's not the case this time. So let's see what we've got on here. 3-year warranty, radio cassette player, Bluetooth, USB and SD card slot, FM, medium wave, shortwave, 2 8-watt speakers, built-in microphone, 3.5mm headphone jack, mains powered or battery powered, 4 D-cell batteries not included. So 3-year warranty. Important to know that the mechanism is a reliable mechanism. It's not unreliable, it's just not good as far as quality goes, but it is reliable, hence why they can offer that. Now as I'm going through this, remember £30 this cost. So that's about as cheap as you could probably sell one of these things for and make a reasonable profit. So there's the power lead, figure of 8 lead on there, instruction booklet, and the device itself. So there's the old one as a size comparison. You can see we've got bigger speakers on the new one, and the overall thing is larger all round. APSS, interested in that? That sounds like Auto Program Search System. I think that's what it stands for. That's to jump you to the next track. Does it really have that on there? I mean, the buttons don't indicate it, but the sticker does, so let's find out. Oh, and look, we've got a nice sticker we can peel off here. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, so let's have a look inside. It's hard to see this, I've got to open the door, but you can see that spring there. That's kind of the giveaway for this mechanism. The way it goes down, curves around and goes over there. So you can see it there on the left, down, round and across. So this is the mechanism that's in here, unsurprisingly, since that's all you can get. Now what you're looking at in the middle here, that's the player head. And I think you can see mono again. There's no line across between those two. So that's what you're looking for a stereo head. Two separate parts with a line in between. So what that means is that this is mono again. I mean, it doesn't say stereo anywhere. It does say X bass, but I don't think that means an awful lot. It's such a shame. Why do they make these mono? Okay, I know the speakers are near together and you probably couldn't tell the difference and things, but still, just for the sake of pence probably for that head, although I'd have to mess around with the circuitry, I suppose. I mean, the thing's been built to a cost, that's the answer. Power switch on the back here, which is interesting, next to the power input there, so that's unusual. Power on off switch on the back. I mean, normally the whole thing's either on or off depending upon what you're doing with it. I suppose this thing's on all the time then, unless you press that. That's weird, isn't it? Maybe people were leaving the previous one in the Bluetooth mode or something and running the power down. There's a multi-voltage selector hole here. It says 110 to 220 volts. So obviously you just flip a switch to move between them. However, there's nothing at the bottom of there. So this is something that would be sold in a number of different countries, no doubt, and one of them would have a switch in that. But yeah, let's put the batteries in this anyway. Now in the past, the comments have always gone wild whenever I've mixed batteries up, so I'll be careful not to upset anyone this time, because I think they think I'm going to create some kind of wormhole if I mix batteries up, even though I'm only going to be using them for 5 minutes. So let's start off. We don't want to mix these up. Duracell, Sony, Energizer and Wilco. There we go. Okay, I'll start off first with my stereo test tape, which plays left on the left channel and right on the right for rather obvious reasons. I think we know that this is a mono player, but maybe I've got it wrong looking at that. Let's have a listen.
Right, left, 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 right.
Now it's saying the same thing through both speakers. So of course it plays both channels, it's playing the same thing on both sides. Let's just have a listen to this bass now. Let's put some music in here. I'll just look through my tapes. There we go. That'll do. YouTube Audio Blues. Let's have a listen to some of that. It's their category is blues. It might not be blues according to what we think is blues. That's a shame. I was going to turn the bass up and it was already on maximum. That's quite enough of that there. It sounded awful. Bass is on maximum, treble's on minimum. It's just harsh, isn't it? It probably doesn't come across too well on the video, but it isn't nice. It's unpleasant. This has caught my eye. I just want to show you something. There was a bit of a trend in the 80s for spelling things out, but even back then, I don't know if they would have gone this far. But it also says scale, in case you didn't know this was a scale. Yeah.
DVD.
You're gonna want to see this.
I've never seen anything like her.
Try to keep up.
That's what I'm talking about. Marvel Studios' Captain Marvel, available Monday.
If you lost money on an investment sold by a bank, find out how much you could be owed in compensation. Text GOOD.
Let's put it into the MP3 mode, which lights up the Bluetooth
mode.
Oh, did you hear that? That was interesting. Here we go. Try it again.
Bluetooth mode.
Bluetooth mode. So it should be showing up on here. There you go. Rekka audio, or Reka. Connected. Easy enough. Let's play the track. The track is called Beat Your Competition. Something this thing definitely won't be doing. can see we've got a very simple MP3 player here. We can skip to the next or previous track and play and pause. There's no record on here. I should mention that the tape recorder can record from any of the sources, so whether you're playing from an MP3 or from the radio. There's no line in though, so you can't record that way, and of course it's all in mono, so it's not something that probably anyone would ever want to do. But let's put a USB stick in here and see what happens.
Play by USB drive.
Now you might be wondering if it's just the tape mechanism that's mono. Perhaps the rest of it is in stereo. If I was playing MP3s, listening to the radio, putting headphones in the side, would that be in stereo? The answer is no. The whole thing is mono. I've even got a little test MP3 on here which just plays through the left channel. Well, it does normally. On this it plays through both speakers.
Left, 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 left.
And the same goes through the headphone output. So yes, this whole thing is a mono device. What I'll do here, I'll just want to demonstrate that no, the treble and bass dials haven't been reversed. They are operating. It's just the whole thing sounds awful, whatever you do with them. And let's just have a listen to it on maximum volume as well. So yeah, this is not going to sound good. So that was terrible. It's completely lacking in bass. To actually say X bass on the speakers, I thought that meant extra bass. I suppose it means X bass, as in excluding bass, as in this is an X parrot, that kind of thing. Okay, let's try this APSS, which we know it doesn't have. It doesn't mention it in the instructions. I've just had a look. What's happened here is somebody's put that sticker on there because they thought, well, that's cool. That's what they used to have on tape recorders back in the day, isn't it? APSS, we'll put that sticker on there. Means nothing on this, but let's try it. Right, so that's this is a tape, by the way, which I know has enough gap in between to activate APSS. So let's find out. Oh, well, you can't do it. What you'd have to do on an APSS machine is press play and press fast forward or rewind, and it would then get to the appropriate track. Let's try it the other way. Fast forward and then play. Nope, that's not helping. Let's try rewind and then play. No, it's got stuck. Yeah, it doesn't have APSS on it. That was a lie. Now, I don't know whether or not there's any point doing this test, but since I've got the equipment here, we might as well. It's the wow and flutter meter. This tells me whether or not a tape is being played at the right speed and whether or not that speed is regular or varies. So let's just show you, first of all, with the Sony Walkman Pro, which always gets a decent score with this thing. So what we're doing here, we're playing a 3 kilohertz test signal into this. And the one on the left is pretty much pinned at 0. That's with 1% at the top of the scale, so 0.3 at the top, it's not moving. The speed on this thing is perfect, or as near to it as you can get. The flutter, the variance in the speed, again, is stuck at 0. That's with 3% at the top, so with 1% at the top, start to see a tiny bit of movement now. 0.3% at the top, we're looking at a wow and flutter of under 0.1%. So that's what you get with a good machine. Let's try it with this. Now, I'll give this thing a little bit of leeway because, of course, it is out of the box. It's not being played very much. These mechanisms always work a little bit better when they've been sort of lubricated, played a bit, but we'll plug it into the headphone output there and we'll see how it manages with this. We've pegged both needles, so that is not good. That's with 0.3% at the top though, so let's move the drift to 3% at the top. That's the speed, and you can see it's running about 1.5% fast, or just over there. So yeah, running a little bit fast. Now let's go for the flutter, so we'll need to put it up to, again, I'll put 3% at the top. Oh, not too bad. Move it down, 1% at the top. So yeah, we're looking at around about 0.4% wow and flutter there. But yeah, this speed thing running at just over 1% fast, that's not great at all. But yeah, you know, there you go. That's what a cheap mechanism does. Now, after opening the back here, I've got this loose wire. Now, no doubt that's me dislodging it when I opened it, but it doesn't look like it was very well soldered. You can see here, I think it comes off this connector, and it would have just sort of rested on the top of there, like that. Obviously not soldered in there properly. I wonder if this would ever have worked on mains power, because this blue wire, it comes all the way from the transformer over here. I'll put the batteries back in and we'll see if it works without this wire. Maybe it was detached all the time.
Our farm is a dairy farm.
Yeah, so it actually works fine off the batteries. I suspect that was never attached. That's not good, is it? Okay, never mind. Obviously these things are built to a cost, but while I'm in here I'll solder that back on. Now the speakers, 4 ohm, 8 watt, so they are 8 watt speakers. Whether or not the thing is actually capable of outputting that volume, I severely doubt it. And if it could do, I wouldn't want to hear it anyway, because it sounds awful. That's what you get for your £30. Tanashin mechanism, radio and a Bluetooth adapter with a SD card reader on, which is all this part here. So obviously that's an off-the-shelf component, that's an off-the-shelf component. You've got your transformer down here, and then this circuit board, which no doubt just, again, you buy from somewhere else. Wire the things together or miss the odd wire, and that's it. You now have your own cassette deck. A very poor cassette deck, which I really wouldn't recommend. So as always, as I always say, oh, there's a bit of glue here, that's awful. What's that? It's like I wonder what that's doing there. It's like a tacky... Ugh. I'm sticking to everything now. This isn't great, but I'll have to wash my... Oh, I'll have to wash my hands in a second. But yeah, that is the Tanashin mechanism in yet another plastic box. They don't have to be this bad though. These mechanisms, they work and they don't tend to break down, but what they could do with doing is putting a decent head on there and then putting it in a decent machine with a decent amplifier, decent speakers, and you'd be reasonably happy with it. I mean, the Sony machines I've got, I'm not sure whether or not they use this exact mechanism, but those ones are a heck of a lot better than this. But then again, they are a lot more expensive. £30, probably not well spent. I'd say better off looking around at second-hand shops and getting something from the 80s, which I suppose might well have one of these in it, but overall the rest of the setup would be a lot better than this tinny mono piece of rubbish. But that is it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.